This is how you're gonna write the ultimate cold calling script in only 6 steps. Step 1 is gonna be your intro. Step 2 is gonna be your hook. Step 3 is gonna be getting pain. Step 4 is gonna be getting the commitment. Step 5 is asking for that meeting. And then step 6, very important, is the post-meeting sell. So with a cold call, very, very, very important is the first 5 to 15 seconds of that call. If you don't master the intro and the hook section of this script, then it doesn't matter how good you are at the other 4 steps. So if you're really good for asking for a meeting, but you can't ever get to that point in the conversation, then who cares? With cold calling, practice, practice, practice. Cannot tell you how important it is to practice. Because when someone picks up the phone and they understand it's a cold call, their guard's gonna be up. So your job as a salesperson and as a cold caller is to break down that defense and actually have a conversation. I'm sure all of us have dreaded making cold calls. I think I sometimes dread making cold calls, and I've been doing it for years now. It's just a human nature, right? I don't want to call this person in the middle of their day on their cell phone right now. We've all felt the feeling. The number one way to overcome that is to know exactly what it is you're going to say, how you're going to say it. That builds confidence, which is gonna come through subconsciously on the phone. You want it to feel like you've said the things you say on that cold call 100,000 times, and this is no different. You're just making a call. It's not even a cold call. You're just calling someone up because you know that what you're selling is actually of value to them, and you can portray that with your tonality. Another huge thing to think about when you're writing your script is, yes, it's important to have a script, but do not read the script. A script is going to be a framework. You're never ever gonna say the same thing the same way on cold calls. It's just not how humans work. You're gonna have little idiosyncrasies, say different things in different cadences. It's really how you say it, not what you say. The inflection of your tone, right? So you want to, increase your tonality or decrease your tonality in certain parts of your script, as well as the pace and the speed in which you say your words. So I could say something like this, or I could say something like this, much more impactful, and it's going to be easier for them to hear you and stay engaged on the phone. When you practice this, practice all of those things. So you want to practice what it is that you're saying, how you're saying it, and the speed and the volumes in which you're saying those words. All 3 are gonna be very important to getting you to that meeting ask and booking more calls and feeling more confident on the phones. First is the intro. I use a permission-based opener from Sandler. We find that works pretty much the best. We'll go over a couple others, but what a permission-based opener is, when you make the cold call, right, people are automatically gonna be like, I just picked up a cold call, damn. So don't be weird about it. Don't be like, hey John, how's it going? How's the weather? Like, they don't know you, right? So don't act as if you do know them. You're gonna get hung up on a lot. Just be honest, right? Hey John, this is Dylan calling from the automated revenue. This is actually a cold call. We don't know each other, John, but if you just give me like 28 to 30 seconds here, I can tell you why I called, and then from there you can see if it makes sense to keep talking. Does that sound fair? Super easy, right? You're asking for permission. You're identifying and being honest that this is a cold call. Most of the time, if you're calling business owners or other successful people, they've probably made cold calls in their life. They respect it. Probably pay people inside their company to make cold calls. There's no stigma around it, right? Everyone gets cold called. It's the oldest form of sales. Tell them it's a cold call, right? And if you get 30 seconds, I'll tell you why it is. So if someone automatically goes, actually, I don't have time. Total lie. No one picks up the phone when they're busy. No one's in the middle of a sales presentation and a pitch and be like, oh, hold on, let me pick up this random number. No, they've picked up the phone because they're available, right? So push back on that objection. But what you're gonna wanna do is once they say yes, say, great, this is your hook, right? So now that they've given you the opportunity to say your pitch, now this is the most important part of that call, right? We're on stage. We got to make the most use of this 30 to 45 seconds to really get them to that next step of the call, which is understanding their pain. So as you can see, right, and you're kind of catching on that each step goes after the other. You can't skip one step and go to the other one. It's a conversation, right? There's no shortcuts. So once they say yes to your intro, now this is how you should position your hook. Repeat yourself. Great. My name is Dylan with Automated Revenue. And then say what it is that you do in about a sentence. We help companies build business development teams and place highly trained sales reps inside their organization to book more qualified meetings on your calendar. Boom. Next sentence. Why do people work with you? Do not talk about your features, how cool you guys are. No one cares. Literally, no one cares. Talk about why people work with you based off of the pains that they had before you were able to provide a solution for those pains. Normally what we would say, right? So boom, my name is Dylan from Automated Revenue. What I just told you is my spiel. Companies work with us for one or two reasons. Firstly, they don't have enough qualified meetings on the calendar and they don't have a predictable process to generate meetings. Or two, they already have a bunch of meetings on the calendars, but they sometimes lack qualifications and they're wasting their salespeople's time. So, Mr. Prospect, with where you're at today in your business, which one of those resonates more with you? Why did I do that? First off, you repeated what you do and how you help businesses. Then you put the prospect in the shoes of other people that have already worked with you, and you told them the biggest pain points that they might have. I could have easily said, yeah, John, my name is Dylan with Automated Revenue. We have a really cool, automated, predictable process to generate qualified sales meetings, and we use personalization. That's cool to me, right? Might be cool to you guys too, but it's not cool to them. It's not talking about painting an actual business need. So you're gonna wanna say 2 or 3, never just 1, reasons why companies work with you from a pain perspective. What the reasoning is for that is that if you only give them 1, it's very easy for them not to resonate with it and they'd be like, oh, well, this isn't actually what we need help with, right? So if I only said that we work with companies that don't have a lot of qualified meetings on the calendar and they have qualified meetings on the calendar, they're automatically like, yeah, this is not a fit for us. But since I put 2 and sometimes even 3 reasons, it's gonna give you more opportunities for that prospect to resonate with what it is that you actually help companies with. So don't do 4 or 5 or get crazy with it. Just do 2 or 3 and then ask them simply which one of those, if any, resonates the most. And then they'll literally tell you what they're most interested in. Now that you know that, don't go off on a tangent on something else. Don't be like, oh great, let me talk about this thing that's not related to what they just told you, right? They literally just told you what they're interested in. So talk directly about what they just told you they're interested in hearing about. That's gonna keep them on the phone and the most engaged. So now that we got the hard part out of the way, which is the first 15 to 30 seconds of the call, now their guard is down. They've resonated with what you say. They're semi-interested. What do you got, Dylan? We actually do need more qualified meetings on the calendar. Then you talk about why. So just mirror them. Oh, great. So, you need more qualified meetings on the calendar. How are you currently generating qualified meetings today? Ask questions. Be inquisitive and ask multiple lines of questioning. So if I ask that question, right, how are you currently generating meetings today? And he goes, LinkedIn. And I go, cool. And then I look at my script and I go, this is the next question that I need to ask this guy. No, have an actual conversation. If he goes LinkedIn, be like, great, how is that going? Oh, it's going well. Great. How are you currently generating leads on LinkedIn? Are you doing connection campaigns with follow-up messages? Are you doing content marketing? Are you running live events? Be inquisitive. Actually kind of act dumb. Act dumb that you don't know what it is they're talking about. Make them explain to you what it is that they're doing, because they're not just gonna automatically just open up their book of how they're generating meetings as a company. You're gonna actually have to have a line of questioning and go through that conversation. It's just 2 humans on the phone. Now that we understood pain, you're gonna ask and dig deeper on that pain to understand not just the surface level pains, but what is keeping them up at night that you also solve. Once you understand those things on that phone call, and I'll actually put some script questions in the description below, is understand their desired outcome. Given what you just told me, if we were able to do these 3 things that you just told me that are super important for your business, what would that do for you? Or how would that look? Put them in the shoes of you already solving their problems. And then once they actually agree that, what it is if it was solved, it would be helpful, then you got them. So that's when you're gonna get the commitment and actually ask for that meeting. So many SDRs and so many appointment setters that we work with don't see and understand when to ask for that meeting. The person like, oh yeah, that sounds actually really good if you're able to actually, put a qualified cold caller inside our business. So right there, you should be like, perfect, let's set up a call because you just told me that you are interested. Don't then go into another question and like prolong the process, right? That's like if you're in the red zone, you're at the goal line, you punched it in for a touchdown, but you have a holding call, right? Like you don't want to go backwards when you're right there at the touchdown, just punch it in, ask for that meeting. You're gonna have much more success and have shorter calls and have more people that are actually coming engaged on that second call, that scheduled call. Once they actually do that, right? Like, okay, great, John, we'd definitely be able to help you, place a hired cold caller inside of your business. Let's set up a call this week. I want to learn a little bit more about your company. I know you called you out of the blue here. What does this date and this time look like? Do you got your calendar pulled up? And then book the call. Once they book that call, once it's on the calendar, that's when you can dig deeper on qualifications. So now that they're already committed, now you have them right where you want them. Be like, great, John, before I hang up, I just had a couple of calls so we can make the best use of our time on Wednesday. How many employees do you guys currently have? What are you guys making like revenue-wise? What is a lifetime value of a client? How immediate is this need? If it wasn't solved, what would happen, right? Right there is when you ask all of your qualification calls to make that call qualified, is after you have them already committed, already on the hook, right? So wait till the end for those, and they're much more lenient to answer all those questions because now they already have a commitment in their brain. So that is how you're gonna be writing a cold call script and the understanding of that. Now in our next video here, we're gonna go a little bit deeper on each one of those and what questions to actually ask and give you an exact framework. Like and subscribe.